If you are early in your career, working from home is not quite the free kick that many people think it is. In fact, if you're in about the first 10 years of your working life, my advice is pretty simple. Get into the office as often as you can. Your biggest asset is not convenience. It is learning, exposure. It is seeing how experienced staff think. That is why I believe the work from home equation changes depending on what stage of your career you're at. Since COVID, obviously the way we work has changed. And yes, plenty of that has been good. But I think a lot of younger workers have been sold a very neat story about working from home. All those things like lower transport costs, fair enough. But here is my view. If you are early in your career, working from home is not quite the free kick that many people think it is. In fact, if you're in about the first 10 years of your working life, my advice is pretty simple. Get into the office as often as you can. I'm not saying that working from home has no value. For more experienced staff, there can be huge benefits. More peace and quiet, fewer interruptions, more time to get cracking through work, less time and money wasted on travel. But for a junior staff member, they're in a different phase. When you are young in your career, your biggest asset is not convenience. It is learning, exposure. It is seeing how experienced staff think. That is why I believe the work from home equation changes depending on what stage of your career you're at. A senior person can often work remotely and still add value because they already have a lot of the judgment and intuition in the bank. A junior person is still trying to build that judgment. And that doesn't just happen from doing tasks. It happens from being around the work. When I was young and on a very steep learning curve, some of the best lessons I got were not planned. They were ad hoc, spontaneous. A client would call with an issue. A meeting would take a turn. Something odd or interesting would pop up. My old man was my boss at the time. He would grab me and say, "Come in here. There is something interesting going on." Basically, sit there, shut up and listen. And he was right. That sort of learning was gold. Not because it was formal, because it was real. You're seeing how a senior person reacts in that moment. What they notice, what they ignore, what questions they ask, how they stay calm in certain situations, and how they get to a conclusion. If you're not physically there is every chance you miss that moment. Not because everyone is against you, just because business moves quickly. People don't stop every 5 minutes and think, "Let me dial in the junior staff member from home." That's the simple truth of it. On a pure numbers game, if you're not there, you will miss some of the best opportunities. One of the best ways that I learned was after work had been reviewed. Before finalising it, Dad would drag me into his office. He'd sit me down and walk through his thought process and his methodology. Now for me, that was the real gold. Not just what he had changed, but why he had changed it. Why he drew one conclusion and not another. Why one piece of information mattered more than another. That sort of thinking helps a junior staff member far beyond the work in front of them. It gives them a framework, a way to attack problems, a way to analyse, a way to act and think commercially. And this is where I think businesses can be smarter. If you're an SME owner or a senior manager, don't just mentor people in the moment and let the knowledge disappear. Record those knowledge sessions, those mentoring sessions. Capture the senior person's thought process. Summarise the points. Build that training for current and future staff because the knowledge sitting in the heads of the senior people is enormous. And too often that knowledge walks out the door at night with them, or it goes entirely one day. If you can record it, summarise it and roll it out properly, you can lift the whole team. Not just today, for years. For junior staff, seek out mentors in person, in the office. Focus on the thought process. Ask how and why did they come to the conclusion. If they're on a call and they asked ABC, ask what relevance it had and why they asked it. If you were in a meeting and your understanding was that the focus was going to be on XYZ, but instead the meeting took a turn and the focus was on ABC, why was that? And if it was a mentoring session that was recorded and the key points are summarised, that's even better. Now that learning does not just help one person, it can help the whole team. So my message is pretty simple. I am not anti-work from home. I am anti-pretending that it suits everyone equally. If you're early in your career, get into the office as much as you can. Be the person who is there, who is available. Be curious and put yourself in the path of opportunity. If being there every day is not practical, then be smart. Work out which managers are best able and most willing to invest in you. Sync your days in the office with theirs. Let them know that you want exposure. Let them know that if something particularly interesting comes up, you're happy to come in. And also remember, there are now fewer junior staff in the office competing for that same time and attention from senior people. This itself creates an opportunity. Less competition can mean more access and learning for the person who shows up. Take advantage of that. Your future self will thank you for it. I'm TC, and that's my 2 cents. Now, before you jump, if you got something out of this, like, subscribe, or share. The videos are for information purposes only. I'm just a poor simple bean counter and no substitute for good financial advice. Any commentary or advice is general only. If you would like tailored advice, be it business advice, tax or accounting advice, please contact me at admin@atomicba.au. If you've got a topic that you'd like me to cover, hit me up in the comments below or email me at tc@tcs2cents.com.au.